Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Clause YouTube channel Strategic Frontlines. Today, we are privileged to have with us Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das. She was a High Commissioner to Bangladesh, and before that, Ambassador to Romania, Albania, and Moldova. I welcome you to this podcast, Ambassador Ganguly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
And today we'll deep dive into the situations in Bangladesh, since we have an expert with us, and we'll discuss in detail how the happenings in Bangladesh is going to impact the region as well as the bilateral relation. So, Ambassador Ganguly, since the time Yunus has come, things have kind of deteriorated. There are political, economic, and security challenges. Latest being that Sheikh Hasina has been convicted and sentenced, and Bangladesh has been asking for extradition. But on the other side, recently, the two NSAs also met this week, and they discussed key bilateral issues. So my first question is, with the political transition and the rise of new faction in Dhaka, what changes do you feel Bangladesh is going to face, both internally as well as how its relationship with India politically going to be there? So what approaches you feel India needs to adopt?
Thank you. This question is very broad, and I'll have to cover a lot of ground to answer that. First and foremost, I think, this government has come to power after the 5th August, students' sort of protest, which led to such degree of violence in the country that Sheikh Hasina was sent to India actually by their own army for her safety. Since then, if you recall, that protest movement was started as an anti-quota movement. I'm not going into the details. And later on, it became a one-point agenda, remove Sheikh Hasina. But after this government came to power, the various stakeholders who were in the forefront of this protest, they approached Professor Yunus, who's Bangladesh's only Nobel laureate, to come and head the government, and he came in a couple of days' time. And the rather than straight away bring order into the country, bring some sort of sense into what was happening, what happened thereafter is that things just spiraled out of control. Law and order, which was, the police morale was very low, which it became even worse. And even now, after so many months, more than 1 year, they've been in power, but nothing has been done to settle the police and to bring back some degree of, confidence in the law and order situation. Economy has been spiraling out of control. Inflation has been controlled, but obviously, in a political flux like this, no foreign entities investing, and neither is domestic investment taking place. But most interesting is that the government seems to have taken upon itself 3 agendas. One is bringing Sheikh Hasina to justice. Second was to bring about reforms, which was never a part of the protest movement itself. And third is elections. Now, of all the 3, a very hurried, we've seen that very fast-track judicial process has resulted in Sheikh Hasina's conviction on crimes against humanity. reform has consumed a lot of time of this government. There was no, to begin with, reform. If there are political parties in a democratic system, obviously they cannot be the same view on reform. So there are different views on reform, but Yunus's government has tried to bring all of it together to come up with a, even before elections take place, even before people's views are articulated, they want to have a fixed idea of the reform process. And election, he has announced that elections will be held in February, but Bangladeshi analysts are themselves questioning whether this can at all happen or not, because law and order is still questionable, and a very large party, that is Awami League, is out of the equation. They have not been banned, but their activities are banned, and the same logic which was used to bring down Sheikh Hasina's government, that there was no democracy, she did not allow other parties to participate, can be applied here if a party as big as Awami League and its alliance partners like Jatiyo Party and all, which also have substantive support base, if they are not allowed to participate. So this is the scenario now with Sheikh Hasina's verdict. In a sense, you can say that one of the demands of one of the stakeholders, that is the students-led party, has been met, that they were constantly saying that you need to have justice before elections are done. So so government has gone in for a very hurried justice process, where you have seen the comments by even global authorities that this was really not a very fair trial. And we can come up with various reasons why this was not considered a fair trial. It was tried in absentia. She was not given her choice of a lawyer. Lawyer never even cross-questioned any witness, nor did the lawyer ever ask for postponement in such a grave case. So it was a very strange judicial process. And in all of this, India-Bangladesh relations has definitely suffered a lot, because, there are always many people in Bangladesh who are ready to, a very dedicated anti-India, narrative is pushed by some vested interests. And obviously, now with the Jamaat being so powerful in this government, first time ever in the independent Bangladesh, Jamaat-e-Islami is as powerful as it is now. And naturally, having opposed the formation of Bangladesh, having always been very, very anti-Indian, they are pushing this agenda, and our relations have seen a dip. And Yunus himself is not a political person. He does not have that kind of political sense which is required to handle something as sensitive as India-Bangladesh relations. So every time, he's made a statement, he's only managed to offend India and push the relation, further back, rather than make any even attempt to bring about any degree of normalization. On our part, I think Foreign Secretary has visited. Technical level meetings continue to take place. We've invited their NSA. Our two NSAs have met. So I think what India's choices now is very simple. We'll have to wait for elections to be held and see who comes to power. And Foreign Secretary has earlier said that no matter who comes to power, India is ready to do business with an elected government in Bangladesh.
You have given a very good political landscape of what is happening post this thing. But as you mentioned that the Jamaat-e-Islami is becoming more and more active there. So this brings us to the second question, that is the security question. Security-wise, do you feel there is going to be increased risk of insurgency, extremism, and the border security will become a major challenge? Considering that we have a long border with Bangladesh, if we see that the previous government had helped in combating the same, but the present government, as you rightly pointed out, has a different approach. And often it is seen that it is much closer to Pakistan, considering the number of visits Pakistani military leaders have made to Bangladesh. So, my question is, what specific security challenges you feel India will be facing in terms of various groups do you feel which will become more active in Bangladesh? And the second is, do you feel that there is a Pak-Bangladesh nexus which is coming up? Also, related to this is we also find that Bangladesh is also getting closer to China. So, is there a kind of China Pak Bangladesh nexus, both in terms of economics, that is the infrastructural development, you find more activity of the Chinese in sensitive areas, as well as the security cooperation? So, how we need to address this, and what should be our approach as far as the border security challenges are concerned?
Well, I think this is going to be one of the biggest challenges. This is actually one of the biggest challenges of the changed political scenario in Bangladesh. When Sheikh Hasina came to power in after the elections in 2008, one of the first things she did was to flush out Indian insurgent groups from from Bangladeshi territory. We have seen years of peace in Northeast because the sanctuaries that they had across the border were no longer available. So definitely now, with the kind of political instability that is there in Bangladesh, we have every reason to worry, every reason to watch the situation very carefully on from a security perspective. uh, Besides the sensitivity of our northeastern region, where they can always in a democratic process there are lots of views which are articulated daily, which can be easily manipulated by forces inimical to our interest. So that is a very, very sensitive area. You mentioned about China, Pakistan, Bangladesh nexus. Definitely, this is something we have to worry about, particularly now. Suppose if the election is delayed beyond February, we know that at best this government has a very tenuous control over police and the armed forces. So even if with the best of intentions, I think this government has been constantly trying to play Pakistan, China against India. I mean, Dr. Yunus is constantly playing that card. And despite a public opinion within the country, which is not necessarily totally in favor of friendship with Pakistan, because a lot of Bangladeshis are still there who have actually seen the liberation war. They have seen how, the army, Pakistani army, killed its own citizens. They were, what they did after Operation Searchlight was killing their own citizens. They have not forgiven the Pakistanis for this, and the Pakistanis have never apologized. Even now, when their foreign minister and deputy prime minister was in Bangladesh a few months back, without batting an eyelid, he said, "We have said sorry on many occasions in the past," and that was discussed. So, we can't say that the whole country has become pro-Pakistani, but definitely this government headed by Dr. Yunus is trying to become as close as possible to Pakistan without ruffling the internal domestic public opinion too much. And the Chinese will always fish in troubled waters. They were close to Sheikh Hasina as well. We know that the Awami League government signed up to BRI. There are Chinese are doing a lot of high-profile projects. They are doing a lot of infrastructure projects. They are doing projects very close to our borders, and they are eyeing the Teesta, river development project, which is a massive project where they're ready to invest a lot of money for redevelopment of the Teesta, in North Bengal, which is very close to our international borders. So we have to watch out for this situation, and the longer it takes for elections to be held, and this government continues, the more cause of worry we have. Once an elected government comes to power, I think we have the opening there to talk about, as all governments do, about their core interests and about their, definitely where they want to see cooperation. With an elected government, with a government which is, a political party, a political government, a government which has actually come to power through the vote, will look at these things very differently from a government, an academic sort of a NGO kind of a government that is in power right now in Bangladesh. They have a very different outlook from whatever kind of elected government comes to power. But the close association that we have seen that Bangladesh is trying to develop with Pakistan is definitely new. Sheikh Hasina gave them at a distance, and the ISI activities, which have greatly increased in Bangladesh, should be a cause of great worry for us.
This brings me to your initial remark when you stated that UNIS had a 3-point agenda. And one of the agenda what you talked about was reforms. Now, if we try to see the economic parameters, economically, we find that Bangladesh was doing very well under the previous comment. But the economic indices have started dwindling. Considering trade between the two countries have taken a hit, and also Bangladesh, if we see, if they want to maintain a sustained growth, then trade with India is very important. But all the indices are showing that they are economically getting worsened. I mean, so what do you feel that will this economic impact pinch the common people and they'll realize that things are not as good as it was in the previous government's time, or it'll take time for the things to come up?
Economic temperature is easier to measure because, when you talk about economics, you're really looking at data. And data does not lie. And it is very clear from the data that, on every account, Bangladesh is really suffering. If you look at the GDP, the projection is that they will grow only at 2.3% this year. Whereas if you look at the past record, they've grown at 6 to 7% growth. They've had a full decade of above 6% growth. So that will pinch the lifestyle of ordinary people. Inflation has been extremely high. There have been shortages of commodities. Of course, India has, they have bought a lot of stuff from India, including rice, onion, etc. Inflation, in fact, food price inflation is at as high as 16%. Unemployment is very high. Young people coming out of the university system are not getting jobs. That IMF has refused to release the next tranche of loan, saying that they would like to deal with an elected government, which is because all loans are related to reform process. It is widely projected that almost 3 million people could fall into extreme poverty by end of 2025, which is, this year. So these are very dire warnings, I think, for Bangladesh. Also, if you look at I touched upon it, if you look at the investment front, nobody wants to invest in a government which is going through internal political turmoil. The investments will start flowing in only after election. Bangladesh's remittances have not grown, have not fallen. So that is one saving grace. They have, by and large, it's a very remittance dependent economy country. Remittance has remained the same. But the bad news is that, the value of Bangladeshi passport has gone down. And there are restrictions on recruiting labor from Bangladesh in many countries, which were traditionally the destination for outgoing labor. So all in all, it's not a good situation. between India and Bangladesh, a lot of trade restrictions have been put. Despite that, we've seen a little bit of increase in Indian exports to Bangladesh. That's primarily because of their demand for petroleum products and food products, and as well as cotton yarn, even though there are restrictions on these on the movement. Bangladesh is also continuing to buy electricity from India. They buy a lot of electricity from India, from Tripura, West Bengal, as well as the Adani Power. So, over a period of time, I'm sure, the sheer economic compulsion of a good relation with India will dawn on some right-thinking people. And again, this only if you look at the relationship away from rhetoric, narrative building, and from a point of view of trying to take revenge from a previous government, only then can you move forward and look at the real value of India-Bangladesh relation. And there is plenty of value to it. It's a win-win relationship when it is for the communities, for the people of both the countries. Because of the proximity, trade can boom between the two countries, and only time will tell how this will pan out.
Ambassador Ganguly, you had spoken about the election previously also. So what do you feel? Will the election change our bilateral relationship if the new party comes up? And what do you see? Who, in your view, will be benefiting as far as the election is concerned? Will you think that Yunus will continue, or there'll be a total new leaders who will come up?
Look, election is going to be election is going to be very difficult to predict. It's going to be, in fact, impossible to predict what's going to happen during elections. But I have a feeling once elections are announced and the parties make an assessment of who's moving in what direction, I think then things might become a little clearer. As you know, every survey indicates that Awami League still enjoys considerable amount of support. Now, parties there are certain constituencies where Awami League has always won election, no matter what the situation. So both the two major parties, that is BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami, are now trying to see how they can, capture the Awami vote. Now, BNP is also acutely conscious of the fact that, as a front runner in this election, that if the elections are held without the participation of Awami League and its associated parties, which is Jamaat-e-Islam, Jatiyo Party, etc., then the election will lack credibility. So how Yunus government will balance all of this, what sort of international pressure they will come under, only time will tell, and once elections are announced. But as of now, it seems BNP is a front runner. They certainly have a greater grassroots presence. They have greater presence in the country itself, and Jamaat-e-Islami has never really won more than 20 seats in any election. And even though it's really tragic that at this stage of it's after 50 years of its independence, the party which opposed the formation of Bangladesh is today one of the front runners and is literally running the government. So time will tell, but I don't see any role for Yunus unless there is some sort of back channel deal to make him the president of the country, because by now Professor Yunus has really become extremely unpopular in the country. He is not the benign, intelligent, smart professor, Nobel laureate that his image was, because he has used the power he has to issue ordinances to, write off the taxes which were against his Grameen phone. He has used ordinances to get out of all the legal trouble that his companies had. He has taken licenses to, a license to open a Grameen university, again a commercial venture, license to have a manpower contract for, exporting labor. So all this goes on to show that, he's really not been able to um, conduct himself above the usual run of the mill person. And through his by encouraging this King's Party, as it is called, the National Citizens Party, the NCP, and overlooking every possible case of allegation of corruption, wrongdoing, conflict of interest in his own cabinet, as well as with respect to the NCP, he has really lost a lot of support. So I don't know if he will be an asset or a liability to whichever party wants to have him on board. It seems unlikely, but the only possibility can be that there is some back channel deal by which he's retained as president. But even that seems unlikely, because he has really lost a lot of support and goodwill of the people of the country because of his inability to administer the country with a strong hand.
Mr. Ganguly, what do you feel is the role of the army been in Bangladesh?
That's really a bit of a mystery, because they have they played a very important role on 5th August. Had they not intervened and put Sheikh Hasina on a flight to a safe place, a great tragedy could have taken place. And after that, instead of declaring martial law, which many army chiefs have done in the past, Ziaur Rahman was the army chief, and General Ershad was army chief. They all, were holding power directly. He did not. He did a consultative process. We now know that he apparently called all the political parties to the cantonment, have a discussion with them, and after some discussion, Yunus was selected to head this government. So, and right from the beginning, General Waqaruzzaman, every time he speaks to the press, he says that we want to go back to the barracks. I want my men to go back to the barracks, and you please conduct election as soon as possible, and we want you to move on. And even now, I think the very significant thing was that, when a few serving army officers were charged and have been arrested, I think the army has behaved in a very restrained way, though it is very difficult to sort of gauge from here at this distance what impact this would have had on the morale of the army, because if you have senior officers of the major general rank being picked up, arrested for doing for heading organizations which now seem to have murky record, that's a very difficult thing to deal with. And I have absolutely, it's very difficult to tell how they are dealing with it. But till as of date, army has shown great maturity. But of course, they played the Pakistan-China game, certainly, and the present extreme friendship between the army of the two countries is really a product of the political process that's happening in that country. So we'll have to wait and watch and see how the army behaves. Especially, I thought they would the arrest would have a greater impact, but the army chief seems to have handled it in a very smart way, I should say, showing great maturity in the way the army has handled it.
Ambassador Ganguly, if we take the region per se, we found that this year we also saw a Gen Z movement in Nepal. And prior to that, there was a movement in Sri Lanka also. So do you feel that is there any connect with all the three movements, whether it is Sri Lanka, whether it is Nepal or Bangladesh, or you feel they are isolated instances? And what do you feel the region will feel like how it is going to progress in future, and what should be India's regional approach?
Very difficult question. As far as the Gen Z's reaction is concerned, I think, I mean, the only link I see in all the three cases is that, the feeling amongst the young people that they were not getting enough opportunities, they were not getting enough jobs, a protest against corruption, and a feeling that a small elite was cornering the entire cake and not letting a sort of fair and equitable distribution of economic development that was taking place. Certainly in the case of Bangladesh, I mean, there was obvious economic growth and development that was taking place, but this was getting cornered by a small group of people. The other thing I think which we should remember is that in this entire region, smartphones are in everybody's hand, and it's a great enabler, I think, for even for poor people to have a phone. Helps them in their businesses. Say a flower vendor who used to sit in a pavement selling flower today can go home to home. He has many more customers because he has a cell phone. You can always call him up in the morning and say, "Bhai, I need so much flour. I need." So even very small businesses can benefit from cheap data and reasonably smart telephone. But it has its side effects. The whole world is linked now, and social media can be used to spread all kinds of messages, including half truths and untruth. So I think, young people typically have little patience with reading, little patience with, in-depth understanding of situations. So it is, I think, very easy to, have these trends, as they are called, on social media, and something is trending, everybody follows that. So it's a tough situation, and how to deal with it is. The way to deal with it is to give equal opportunities to young people, give them the skills that they need to compete in the modern day world. Governments need to make a proper analysis of what skill set I need in the next 10 years, next 20 years, next 30 years. Industry is changing so fast. Today, we are constantly talking about AI, and how AI is impacting industry. But that is also has a huge impact on the young people who are joining the job market. Do they have the skill to deal with this environment? So I think at the very heart of it lies equal distribution of wealth, equal opportunities to young people, and job opportunities for youngsters who do not have a lot of extra time in their hand to while away their time while they're looking for jobs, and where jobs are not available. I think that is the important question. And for that, in such a fast moving world, such a technologically driven world, a proper assessment of skill sets that young people need, and giving them that skill set which will make them worthy of a job, is a very, very important challenge that all governments have to face.
Ambassador Ganguly, one last question I wanted to ask you is, what are your recommendations? How we should proceed further? How should we navigate with this comment? And what you feel should be the short-term goals, the mid-term goals, and the long-term goals as far as the bilateral relations between the two countries are concerned, as also in the region?
See, in the short term, I think we will continue to do what we are doing now. That is, having some sort of an engagement with this government. But I think, and this goes not only for India but for all other countries which are engaging with Bangladesh. Nobody is going in for big policy discussions or policy decisions or big treaties or agreements or MOU. This is a stopgap arrangement which has happened in Bangladesh, and I think we will have to wait for elections to take place and an elected government to come to power. In the intervening period, I think we should engage with all stakeholders, without any conditions, because it's an important relationship. And I think it is important for our the stakeholders, the political stakeholders in Bangladesh also to know what our top priorities are. And I would think that given this situation, one of our top priorities would be our security concern. That I think every stakeholder needs to understand what our security concerns are, and where we will not make any compromise at all, and where we will not have any negotiating space. So, this is something which has to be communicated to all stakeholders. And it is you have seen in the last few months, several political delegations have visited China, but nobody raises an eyebrow on that. Nobody says that, why is BNP sending 4 delegations to China? Why is Jamaat-e-Islami Amir going to China? But if this was to happen in case of India, if they were to visit India, I think, they would have, their reputation would have been ruined by the public opinion that, okay, they've gone to do a deal. So when you visit India, you're trying to do a deal, but when you visit China, you're only doing a courtesy visit. So, we have to accept all these narratives and realities. But the fact remains that this is probably a time for good back channel diplomacy, a little bit of behind the scene, low key engagement with stakeholders is required. And, it's not as if you can change the public opinion with a magic stick or something. But the sheer the value of the relationship, what it brings to the people, has to be understood. We often find that Bangladeshi critics will say that, India gobbles up everything. India is very selfish. India is taking away everything from Bangladesh. I mean, without giving any example whatsoever of what they're talking about. Every rail connection, when railway transit and movement started, there was so much criticism. But once the rail lines started functioning, when the passenger trains started, look at the booking condition. The trains were always booked, fully booked. Now it's all stopped. There are no visas. People are not able to come except for dire medical situation. So I don't think people of Bangladesh want this. Youngsters in Bangladesh want to come and study in India. They want to come and study in Indian universities, which are highly valued. They want to come to India for tourism. They want to come to India for medical tourism. So I think at one point, the largest country sending tourists to India was Bangladesh, and that continued for a couple of years. So I think there is a lot of value to our relationship. If our borders are secure, if our borders are safe, if we have assurances from Bangladesh that the security of our border is in safe hands, that can bring transformation in our northeast. Tripura has seen transformative changes. The very development of Sabroom special economic zone was because of the access to Chettogram port, the bridge over Feni River. So I think there are clearly a lot of win-win. But engagement is necessary, I feel, and every engagement doesn't have to be under the glare of spotlight or very public. Some sort of low-key engagement is absolutely necessary, I think, at this stage. I can't hear you.
Yeah, what you rightly pointed out, that engagement is necessary. It is also necessary that engagement, what we do with stakeholders, that is also equally important. And do you feel that we need to have a better narrative building this thing?
Absolutely. That has to be done. And I think we don't make enough use of the people-to-people connect we have, especially with the Bengali-speaking part of India. We, after all, speak the same language. For us, it is so easy to pick up a Bangladeshi paper and read. A lot of people in India read, write. People of West Bengal, Bengali-speaking people read, write Bengali. It's the same script, same language. We our love for the same literature. So the distrust that is there, the lack of trust that is there right now, needs to be bridged. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we face right now. That a narrative building of what India's intentions are, and that we are a next door neighbor which only wishes Bangladesh well, needs to be conveyed. It's a difficult task, I accept.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Ganguly. You covered so many issues, and we really deep dive into the Bangladesh issue. And you rightly pointed out we need to have narrative building, and also culturally we are so close. So we need to open channels and talk to each other. So I hope in the coming years things will improve, and we'll have a better relationship with Bangladesh.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.